New leaked footage from the Brazilian Grand Prix has sent shockwaves through Formula One, and what it shows could expose sabotage inside McLaren. Oscar Piastri's race was destroyed by a 10-second penalty and a mysterious sequence of events that may not have been accidental. The footage has sparked fury within the team, engineers clashing, strategy calls questioned, and whispers that McLaren may be favoring Lando Norris in the title fight. With only 3 races left, Norris leads by 24 points, but this scandal could change everything. Is Piastri being held back by his own team? The Formula One world has been rocked by shocking new footage from the Brazilian Grand Prix, footage that may confirm what many fans and insiders have quietly suspected. Oscar Piastri, McLaren's prodigious young star, may have been the victim of sabotage, not from another team, not from the FIA, but from inside his own garage. In a season where every point counts, the implications of this footage are explosive. At first glance, Piastri's race weekend in São Paulo seemed like a combination of bad luck and risky decisions. But the full picture is far more complex. The sprint race ended in disaster after Piastri lost control on a damp patch left moments earlier by Lando Norris. The Grand Prix spiraled into chaos after a first-lap collision that saw Leclerc retire and Piastri penalized with 10 seconds. Many saw it as a harsh call from the stewards. But now, with the release of internal team video and telemetry leaks, fans are asking, was Oscar set up to fail? Inside McLaren, the pressure is building. Norris is leading the championship with just 3 races remaining. Piastri, once the leader, is now 24 points behind. But beyond the numbers, it's the team dynamics that have become the true headline. Footage from inside the garage shows a noticeable difference in attention, communication tone, and urgency between Norris and Piastri's sides of the garage. And now, with former drivers and F1 insiders weighing in, the question is no longer, is there favoritism? It's, how deep does it go? For Piastri, this isn't just about strategy or pace. It's psychological warfare. He's being asked to drive at his absolute peak, under championship pressure, while navigating an environment that may not be giving him full support. And yet he's not cracking. His discipline, his control, his silence in the media, it's all part of a profile that reflects maturity far beyond his years. Where others would lash out, Piastri is doubling down. This is a driver who's absorbing political tension, public scrutiny, and a team power shift while still delivering elite performance on track. He hasn't lost his edge. He hasn't lost focus. He knows he's being tested, and the cameras are now capturing everything. In a year when McLaren should be celebrating a historic comeback, they're instead managing internal crisis. And the footage now circulating online could ignite that fire beyond control. The Brazilian Grand Prix was supposed to be Oscar Piastri's redemption weekend, a chance to claw back points, reset the narrative, and close the gap to teammate Lando Norris. But by Sunday afternoon, any hope of that had collapsed. On lap 1 of the race, Piastri made an assertive move down the inside of Kimi Antonelli at turn 1. It was tight, it was risky, but it was clean until Antonelli, unsettled by the move, shifted left. That small movement created a chain reaction that ended Charles Leclerc's race and handed Piastri a controversial 10-second penalty. The stewards were quick to assign blame. Predominantly responsible, they said a phrase that gave just enough legal cover to justify the penalty without sparking full outrage. But among paddock insiders and even rival team engineers, the decision was met with raised eyebrows. This wasn't reckless driving. It was aggressive, yes, but also opportunistic, the kind of move every title contender needs to make in a 3-way battle. To penalize it so heavily? Many felt it was excessive. And in the context of the championship, devastating. With the penalty served at his first pit stop, Piastri lost critical track position. His carefully planned strategy, built around clean air and undercuts, was erased. From fighting for P2 or P3, he was dropped into traffic and forced to restart his race in the midfield. Meanwhile, Norris, untouched by the drama, extended his stint, got the perfect pit window, and cruised to another dominant victory. It was yet another example of how quickly fortunes are diverging between the two McLaren drivers. This isn't just a story about racecraft anymore. It's becoming a story about internal imbalance. Piastri's radio comms are growing shorter. The tone from his engineers, more clinical. The support from the pit wall during the race? Noticeably less dynamic than Norris. Small things, tire data, gap updates, energy usage cues all seem to flow more freely to one side of the garage. And while McLaren insists on equality, the optics are damaging. For a driver chasing a world title, this level of perceived disparity can be both distracting and demoralizing. And yet, Piastri hasn't let it break him. His post-race debrief was calm, measured, and professional. No finger-pointing, no headlines, no public frustration. He's keeping the fight internal, but that doesn't mean he's not fighting. What Brazil revealed is a driver under immense pressure, racing against not just Lando Norris, but against something more complex, the shifting political gravity inside a team that once promised equal opportunity. Now, as the final 3 rounds approach, that gravity is pulling harder. Norris has the momentum. The media narrative is turning. And Piastri, still right in the title hunt, is being pushed into a corner. Every decision, every word, every on-track maneuver now carries weight far beyond its lap time. Because the question inside McLaren is no longer, who's faster? It's becoming, who is this team really backing? After the penalty was issued, the entire complexion of Piastri's race changed and McLaren had to adapt. The original plan had been for Piastri to hold position in the top 3 through the first stint, undercut the Ferraris and Red Bulls, and launch an attack on Norris in the final phase. But when the 10-second penalty hit, that strategy became unworkable. McLaren switched Piastri to a more conservative middle stint, opting for durability over pace, and hoping to climb back through the pack by extending tire life and exploiting any late-race chaos. Piastri's car wasn't perfect either. Though it survived the Turn 1 incident without major structural damage, there was minor aerodynamic loss on the right side of the front wing. That alone wouldn't normally alter race outcome, but in a field as tight as Brazil, it created small imbalances mid-corner. Piastri noticed it immediately. He compensated by shifting brake balance rearward and smoothing out his steering inputs through high-speed sections. It was a subtle but crucial adaptation and one that most viewers missed, unless they were watching his onboards closely. Despite the handicap, Piastri maintained impressive pace. His tire degradation remained among the lowest of the midfield runners, and his energy deployment was timed with surgical precision. He resisted the temptation to overuse battery power when stuck in DRS trains, and instead waited for clean exit opportunities to line up overtakes. The move on Fernando Alonso calm, calculated, and completed with minimal tire wear was a reminder of why so many consider Piastri one of the most intelligent drivers on the grid today. Back in the garage, though, there were signs of divergence. Norris's race engineer was active, vocal, and constantly adjusting strategy on the fly. Piastri's side? More passive. More reactive. The data feeds were coming in, but the strategic aggression just wasn't there. It felt like McLaren were managing Piastri's race, not maximizing it. For a title-contending driver, that can be the difference between a comeback and a missed opportunity. Especially when every second counts against a teammate in full championship mode. Even so, Piastri clawed back ground. By the closing laps, he had positioned himself for a P5 finish just behind Russell and ahead of both Aston Martins. It wasn't a recovery that made headlines, but it was one of the most controlled and technically flawless drives of the day. He took what the car could give, never overreached, and kept his head down. For a driver under such intense pressure, that kind of emotional and tactical control is rare and essential for any championship hopeful. His radio after the race was brief but telling. "We did what we could. Let's regroup." No frustration, no politics, no excuses. That's the hallmark of a driver who understands the bigger picture, a driver who knows that the title isn't won in one race, but across an entire campaign of consistency, mental strength, and resilience. In Brazil, Piastri didn't just save points, he saved momentum. And right now, that might be more valuable than raw pace. The leaked footage has hit McLaren like a thunderclap. What was once just speculation about favoritism or imbalance has now become visual, dissectable proof, a pattern of strategic calls, pit lane behavior, and internal team interactions that suggest not all is equal under the Woking roof. While the team remains publicly united, the images circulating in the F1 ecosystem are telling their own story, one that paints Oscar Piastri as the second priority in a two-car title fight. Inside McLaren, the dynamics are shifting. The tone of radio messages, the structure of engineering support, even the visible body language from senior staff, it's all under the microscope now. And for a team that prides itself on transparency and unity, this is a dangerous narrative to let spiral. Because once a driver, especially one as composed and capable as Piastri, begins to feel that the garage isn't truly behind him, it can erode trust at exactly the moment when cohesion is most critical. This isn't just internal politics. It's beginning to affect race execution. When Piastri needs a bold call, the instinct from the pit wall now seems hesitant. When Norris needs flexibility, the team is dynamic and responsive. That differential, subtle but consistent, is beginning to shape races. And in Brazil, it shaped a Grand Prix that could have put Piastri back on level footing. Instead, it left him looking for answers while his teammate built a commanding 24-point lead. And that lead is no small obstacle. With just 3 races remaining, Piastri must now outscore Lando Norris by an average of 8 points per weekend, a tall order in a season where both McLarens are regularly finishing on the podium. The math is still possible. But emotionally, the climb is steep. Brazil wasn't just a defeat in terms of points, it was a swing in momentum. Norris is now the driver in control. Piastri, through no fault of his own, has been cast as the outsider within his own team.